So what would a U.S. strike on Iran actually look like? I mean, not the headlines, but the hour-by-hour breakdown. Today on The Explainer, we are diving deep into a detailed military simulation, one that game plans a conflict that could frankly reshape global politics and economics in just a matter of days.
Now, all of this, the strategy, the targets, the entire step-by-step timeline we're about to walk through, it comes straight from a fascinating and incredibly thorough analysis by Gökhan Artun. His article is called Siege and Paralysis, and what he does is simulate what this kind of military operation would really look like on the ground, hour by hour.
Okay, so to really get the why behind a potential conflict this huge, you've got to zoom out, way out. We're not just talking about the Middle East here. This is all part of a much larger geopolitical game. Think of it like a grand chessboard, and the main players are the United States and China.
And this quote from Artun's piece, well, it just nails it. In this grand picture, Iran is targeted not only as a regional threat, but as a key node in China's energy security. So what does that mean? It means this isn't just about Iran. The analysis frames a potential U.S. strike as a major strategic move to cut off the oil pipeline to China, a move that could seriously hamstring its economy. We're talking about a power play with massive global ripple effects.
So, you might be asking, what would be the trigger? What's the tipping point that would set an operation this massive into motion? Well, according to this simulation, it all boils down to one single critical number.
And that number has everything to do with enriched uranium. The entire timeline, the green light for the whole operation, it's all tied to how far along Iran gets with its nuclear program. Specifically, how close they are to being able to build a bomb.
Okay, so let's put this in perspective. To run a nuclear power plant for energy, you only need uranium enriched to, say, 3 to 5%. That's it. But look where Iran is right now. They're already over 60%. That is way past what you need for peaceful purposes. They are getting uncomfortably close to the magic number for a weapon.
And there it is, 90%. That is the red line. For the U.S., for its allies like Israel, 90% is pretty much the point of no return. So a key assumption in this whole simulation is that any military action would have to happen before Iran ever gets to that number. All right, so now for the main event. Let's get into the how. The military hardware, the specific targets, the whole play-by-play of this simulated attack. The analysis actually gives it a name, Operation Sentinel Strike.
First thing to get straight, the goal here isn't total annihilation. It's not about destroying or occupying the country. The term military planners use is strategic paralysis. It's about breaking Iran's ability and its will to fight back, and basically hitting the reset button on its nuclear and military capabilities, setting them back for years, maybe even a decade or more.
So what are we talking about in terms of firepower? Well, for starters, you've got this, an absolute floating fortress of naval power. The simulation lays out two, not one, but two full carrier strike groups. That means you've got cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and the carriers themselves. And all together, they're packing over 1,000 ready-to-fire Tomahawk missiles. Just insane!
And that's just what's on the water. Backing them up from land bases is a whole squadron of serious air power. And each of these planes has a very specific job to do. You've got the B-2 Spirit stealth bombers. They're the ghosts that go in deep. The F-22 Raptors, their job is simple. Own the sky. Make sure nothing else is flying. Then you have the F-35s for those surgical precision strikes. And once the air is clear, you bring in the F-15E bomb trucks to just unload, along with the heavy-hitting B-1B Lancers.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about blowing everything up. The targeting is incredibly specific, almost surgical. The plan literally has a kill list and a no-strike list. On the kill list, air defense systems, radar stations, the Fordow and Natanz nuclear facilities, basically anything that helps Iran fight back. And the no-strike list, things like civilian airports and, crucially, the Bushehr nuclear power plant. They want to avoid a Chernobyl-style catastrophe. They also deliberately avoid certain economic targets like the Karg Island oil terminal.
So, before any of those jets we just saw even cross into Iranian airspace, the very first move is something called SEED. That stands for Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses. Think of it this way. You have to take out the enemy's eyes and ears before you do anything else. The analysis uses a great analogy. A blind boxer can't fight back. The entire operation's success, literally everything, depends on blinding Iran's radar network right from the get-go.
The actual attack plan is broken down into three overwhelming waves. Wave 1 is the blinding. This kicks off with a massive punch. We're talking over 300 Tomahawk missiles plus B-2 stealth bombers hitting every radar and key nuclear site they can find, all in the first 4 hours. Then comes Wave 2, the airspace sweep. This is where the F-22s and F-35s go on a search and destroy mission, clearing the skies of any Iranian planes or defenses that survive the first hit. And finally, Wave 3, systematic destruction. For the next day or two, the heavy bombers just methodically take apart everything else: missile launchers, drone factories, naval bases. The goal is to get all of this done in about 72 hours.
But here's the thing. A military victory inside Iran, even a quick one, that's really just the beginning of the story. The simulation argues that the moment the fighting stops, a series of massive aftershocks would start to ripple across the entire planet, creating a whole new mess of problems. The first shockwave? It's economic, and it would be immediate. The Strait of Hormuz, that tiny choke point where a huge chunk of the world's oil passes through, yeah, that would slam shut. You'd see oil prices go through the roof, probably to record levels. Supply chains for huge economies like China and India would just break. And the risk of a full-blown global recession, it wouldn't just be a risk anymore. It would be knocking at the door.
And as bad as that sounds, the political chaos could be even worse. The analysis is pretty clear on this. Iran wouldn't just surrender. It would unleash all of its proxy forces across the region, in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, everywhere. Suddenly, what was a contained conflict turns into a messy, asymmetric war that's impossible to control. The whole security setup in the Middle East would just shatter, and you could be looking at a chaotic mess that lasts for decades.
And this map here shows another often overlooked risk. An attack wouldn't just unify Iran, it could actually fracture it from the inside out. Iran is a very ethnically diverse country, and the shock of an attack like this could easily ignite all sorts of separatist movements. You could see internal conflicts break out that would absolutely spill over the borders and destabilize all of its neighbors.
So when you put it all together, Gökhan Artun's detailed analysis lays out a really clear and, you have to admit, pretty plausible path to a short-term military win. But it also leaves us with this final, really tough question. It shows that winning the battle in 72 hours might be possible, but is it worth the years, maybe even decades, of total strategic chaos that would almost certainly come next?